Hi everyone, welcome. Today we will talk about the inverse function. Before we look at the formal definition, you might wonder, why do we actually need inverse functions? An inverse function is simply a reverse rule. If a function takes an input and gives you a result, its inverse lets you work backward from the result to find the original input. Let's take an example with temperature. A function converts Celsius to Fahrenheit. Its inverse converts Fahrenheit back to Celsius. Or another example with travel. A function tells you how far you've driven based on time. Its inverse tells you how long you've been driving based on distance. Let's define what an inverse function is. In mathematics, if a function f maps an input x to an output y, then its inverse function, denoted as f inverse, is a function that reverses that process, mapping y right back to x. If you look at the diagram on screen, we can trace how inputs and outputs swap roles. Start with the blue square on the left. Function f takes an element x from its domain and maps it along the top arrow to produce y. Notice that y lands inside the yellow box, which represents the range of f. Now follow the yellow arrow along the bottom. The inverse function f inverse takes y as its input and maps it straight back to x. Because of this undoing process, the domain and range trade places. The domain of f becomes the range of f inverse, and the range of f becomes the domain of f inverse. Let's walk through how to find the inverse of a linear function, and then see what that looks like on a graph. Look at the right side of the screen. We start with a linear function y equals f of x equals ax plus b, where a is non-zero. To find the inverse, our first step is to solve for x in terms of y. Subtracting b from both sides and dividing by a gives us x equals y minus b over a. By standard convention, we swap x and y, so our inverse function is expressed in terms of x. This leaves us with y equals x minus b over a. Since linear functions extend indefinitely in both directions, the domain and range for both f and f inverse cover all real numbers. Now direct your attention to the graph on the left. The yellow line represents our original function, while the blue line represents the inverse function. Notice the red dashed diagonal line running straight through the origin. This is the line y equals x. As you can see from the animation, the graph of f inverse is an exact mirror image of f reflected across the dashed line. Now let's look at finding the inverse of a cubic function. Just like with our linear example, the graph of f inverse is a geometric reflection of f across the line y equals x. Now let's explore what happens when we try to find the inverse of a quadratic function y equals f of x equals ax squared. The similar process gives us y equals plus or minus square root of x over a. Notice that plus or minus sign. It means one single input produces two outputs. By definition, a function can only assign exactly one output to each input. Therefore, f of x equals ax squared does not have a true inverse function for all real numbers. Look at the parabola graph on the left. If a equals 1, the function is f of x equals x squared. Notice the horizontal green line at y equals 1. It intersects the parabola at two distinct points, x equals -1 and x equals 1. If we try to work backward, we don't know which original x value to start with. To give f of x equals ax squared a valid inverse function, we must restrict the domain. Let's see what happens when we restrict the domain so that the quadratic function does have a valid inverse. Look at the top right of the screen. We have y equals f of x equals ax squared with a is positive. But this time restricted to the domain 0 to positive infinity, meaning x must be strictly positive. Now we have y equals the square root of x over a. Because every input now maps to exactly one output, f inverse is a true function. On the left, notice how we only graph the right arm of the parabola in yellow. The blue curve represents square root function f inverse. Just as before, it forms a perfect mirror image of the yellow curve reflected across the dashed line y equals x. The animation also highlights an important point. Whenever a becomes negative, the yellow curve drops below the x-axis. As a result, the blue curve completely disappears. Since taking a square root of a negative value is impossible in the real number system. This works similarly when we restrict the domain of the quadratic function to negative infinity to 0. Let's see how the inverse function is formed and drawn on the graph. To summarize, remember three main takeaways about the inverse functions. First, an inverse function undoes the original function by swapping inputs and outputs, meaning the domain and the range trade places. Second, the graph of inverse function is always a reflection of the original function across the diagonal line y equals x. And third, a function only has a valid inverse if each output comes from a single input. For functions that fail the horizontal line test, like parabolas, we must restrict the domain to create an inverse. That concludes our lesson on inverse functions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.